So, some words make the heart quiver. They conjure up excitement. They conjure up the open road, blue sky, adventure. VAT is one of those words, right? Why did you choose to go into the exciting world of VAT, and what do you do there?
Okay, maybe starting with a few words about VATBox and then about the VAT space. So VATBox, it's a young startup, about 5 years old. Raised so far about 50 million from 2 private equities. One of them is Target Global and 2 more private investors. We have a bit more than 100 employees, operated basically all over Europe in the US, where the typical client is ultra tier 1 Fortune 500 company. And I would say that we operate in a very interesting, excited, and attractive market, the VAT market. And I know that probably everybody here looks strange. How can I say exciting and VAT in the same sentence? So maybe just to tell you about myself, I don't have any financial background. My background is like spending 15 years in the army at the field, then studied mathematics and computers, nothing connected to financial space. Then I founded my first venture, was also software enterprise, but at the FDA compliance space also, nothing connected to finance. And after selling the company, after 8 years, sold the company and spent 2 more years, and then I established VATBox at the VAT space. And I think it's so attractive market, going to your question, particularly first the size. Again, I don't know if you're familiar with the size of that market, but if you look only at the EU, there is more than 1.2 trillion euro VAT transactions every year. 1.2 trillion. Just to give you a sense about that number, 1% from that amount is 12 billions. Now, this is only in the EU.
2% is 24 billion.
Exactly.
3% is 36.
Exactly.
How much is 7.5%?
Oh, you challenged me. So again, this is only in the EU. And again, if you look at the VAT lately, it's growing all over. Now China and India and Japan and Korea and Taiwan, Gulf countries, Russia. Basically, VAT is all over, excluding the US, and it's really massive. Now, it's not only a very big market, but it's also a recurring market. There's no question what will be the size of that market next year. There's no question how much money companies will allocate to this space. It's a real recurring market, and I think the magic of that market coming from the fact that when it comes to B2B transaction, VAT is not an income and it's not a cost. Means, as a business, if you know exactly how much you spend, how much is a business expense, and if you can prove this is a business expense, and if you have the right evidence, if you are familiar with a practical way to get your money back, it's all about getting your money back. And maybe I will end with one example for that case. Thousands of people came to this event, probably booked hotels. Probably everybody here bought something to eat. From our benchmark and our statistics, most of the VAT that was spent, and it's probably millions just for that event, will be lost. In most of the cases, your companies will leave the VAT behind just because you will submit total amounts of spending, and it's not clear how much VAT was there, and there's a lot of work and a lot of risk to do in order to get the VAT back, and this is basically what we do. We recover on behalf of our clients the VAT and provide the visibility.
So I guess Marco asked us just a minute ago, what's the difference between VATBox and Global Blue? And I guess that's a company that people here know. A lot of people here are frequent travelers. So can you help us place VATBox in the VAT space?
Yeah, so generally speaking, looking at the entire market, you have the consumer part, where basically when a country like UK wants somebody to buy something and import is so-called to import to his own country, origin country, so they're giving kind of a benefit and saying, okay, for those specific products, you can, at the airport, at the border, you can basically refund your VAT, and this is for consumers, and this is Global Blue and other very good companies. When we speak about corporates, about business, the rules are completely different, and the practical way, there's no way at the border to get VAT for companies. And again, as consumers, as you know, there's no way you're going to get your VAT at the border from hotels, from food you bought, for car that you rent, or so on. So it's completely different areas, and the challenges and the rules are completely different.
So who are the customers?
So looking at VATBox again, I would say that today we focus on the real ultra tier one clients, whether they are in Europe or in the US or in Asia, from the leading technology companies to the leading pharmaceutical companies, the largest manufacturers of the market. I'm speaking about hundreds of clients they used to spend. Again, it's very interesting. And we look at those big companies in the world, the travel expense budget goes from few hundred millions on a yearly basis up to few billions every year on travel expense only. Now you can imagine how much VAT you have there, and when you recover the VAT, it goes to your bottom line, to the profit line. So this is, I would say, if I'm looking at our clients, that this is mainly coming from US and Europe.
So you had an exciting year. 2017 is a big year. You got Europe's fastest growing venture firm onto your cap table. Some great additions to the board also. What's the next 2-3 years going to look like?
So hopefully we will sit here in 2-3 years, and I will be able to elaborate more about a better and bigger success story. But the challenge where we are is basically, in one hand, to be able to cover the entire globe. There's so many companies at the ultra tier one, and of course also at the second layer that really needs that process, in one hand for the saving, and the second hand to have a good and compliant automated process. So today we know that we reach small part of those organizations, so the challenge is in one hand to expand our sales operation and to get basically all over across the globe. This is in one hand. And the second hand, when we touch a new client, it doesn't necessarily mean that we can provide him full coverage. It means there are a few jurisdictions that today we don't have good enough solution. The level of quality here is super important. As you can imagine, none of those companies are willing to take any risk. And if you're not 100% ready with very good qualification, there's no almost qualified. Or it's 100% qualified or it's nothing. So you need to improve the machine and increase your coverage in terms of jurisdictions and, of course, in terms of go-to-market.
And I guess when you're saying jurisdictions, you mainly mean China, which is getting a new VAT law. Yeah. How big of an opportunity do you think that is for VATBox? So
we don't have accurate numbers at the moment, but it's definitely could be larger than what we see in Europe. The Chinese, on one hand, traveling all over the world, but they're used to, since it's such a very big country. So they spend also a lot of money in travel expense in the country. And I just want to mention travel expense is one of the domains. There are many others, like import VAT, where the VAT is hidden, or procurement cards, and so other things. So the Chinese market, I would say the Asian market is definitely very promising. China probably is on the top of the list, and it's also a new system, just joined to this system lately. But it's not the only one. You know, lately the Gulf countries, also very big space, are joined to this VAT system.
Good place for an Israeli company to do business?
Generally speaking, I think everybody that comes with good technology, the market is very open to adopt new technology. The tax and the financial space, I think it's also very open just because there are very limited solutions. Look at our industry as an example. We're not creating any market. We don't need to educate the market. We're operating in an existing market that for the last, I would say, 20 years is very strong market, dominated and controlled by manual service providers. So generally speaking, I think, yes, it's a very good market to operate in.
Wonderful.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.